So we've talked about the difference between practicing and playing for fun and performing, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're going to do a practice performance, how is that going to be different than, or will it be different than just playing the song start to finish in your practice session? If we're treating it like a practice performance, how does that make it feel different? What do you think about?
Performing and like sometimes they're playing for someone, not necessarily a judge, but like someone.
Mm-hmm. So what do you, the piano player, what do you do to get ready for a performance before you ever sit down at the piano? What do you do? Besides, practice your songs, of course you do that. But is there something that you do inside your mind or with your body or anything like that to get ready for a performance?
Sometimes some people have, like, you tell me to breathe sometimes.
I do. I tell you to breathe sometimes, don't I, huh? What's the first thing that I ask you to do when you sit down at the piano to perform?
Like,
what do I say?
Take a couple breaths.
So let's practice that. Because did you know what? That's part of your performance. Your performance begins from when you walk in the room to when you sit down at the piano and get ready and play for the judge, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to do a little pretending here. You ready? So step on out. Step out of the room. Something like we've got a bench. We've got a piano. What if you come into the room and the bench is right here? What are you going to do?
You're going to take out the bench.
You're going to take out the bench. Okay, so you're going to come in. You're going to take out the bench. And then what are you going to do next?
Sit down.
You're going to sit down, and then what are you going to do? Just start playing?
No, breathe.
Oh, there we go. Let's do it. Okay, you ready? So, 1, 2, 3. Good job! Bravo! Thunderous applause from all in the concert hall. All right. Now, I want to know, how did that feel? Did it feel different than just playing it?
Yes.
Why?
Because...
Did you feel kind of nervous?
Yeah. And like, someone's like, such as like, oh, it's fine if I... Like,
someone's paying attention to you.
Try not to make mistakes.
Hello, self. Try not to make mistakes. Yeah, but so what were you thinking about while you were playing? Were you thinking, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes? No, good. I'm glad, because often, you know what happens when we think that? We make lots of mistakes.
But like, sometimes like when I like, at first when I like played it, I was like, oh, and then I just like continued, because sometimes like then it's like,
I noticed that you made a little stumble in the middle there, like in the middle beginning, and you just kept going. That's exactly what you do in performance. Now, here's the thing. When we're performing, our brains are like hyper alert and like, they're really paying attention. And so what we have to do is we have to use that hyper alertness of your brain, which sometimes wants to go over to, she messed them up. She forgot this crescendo. And sometimes our brain gets like super critical and does that. We want to channel that hyper alert critical voice and say, hey, let's, instead of paying attention to all the things where you might not be doing totally correctly, let's pay attention to what's happening right now, right? I think of performing as like the ultimate mindfulness exercise. Do you know why? What's the point of mindfulness?
Like to calm down when you're upset.
Yeah, and to simply be where you are, right? The whole point of mindfulness is to be aware and be where you are. Now, when we're performing, if we're worried about what we just did, what notes we just missed, or if we're worried about this tricky part that's going to come in 4 measures or on the next page or whatever, then are we being where we are?
No, and plus maybe if you're like wondering, like you're worried about something, you might make like a mistake when you're like playing there.
Yeah. So how can we be where we are? What are things that we do? What are things that you just did during your practice performance to be where you are?
Breathe.
You breathed. You put your hands in your lap and you said, and you know what? Did you still feel a little bit nervous afterwards? Maybe a little bit?
Yeah.
I kind of thought it might be good to maybe even take, especially when you're going in for the judge, it might be good to like take 3 breaths. Take 3 breaths because that'll ground you and calm you down more. And it's fine. The judge is there all day. They're not going to care if you take 3 breaths and then start playing. It's fine. Right? So we breathe. We focus on where we are. Once a note has passed, it's gone. It's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if a note is in the future, it's in the future. We can't worry about it. It doesn't matter anymore. Or yet. It doesn't matter yet until it comes. What matters is the notes that we're playing right now. Okay? So. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you. How old are you?
9.
9. Well, take your time. Get comfortable. Get situated. I'm pretending to be the judge.